So at Soul Food, we host a number of recurring events throughout the month, and one of the newest recurring events we have is a discussion on shamanism on the first Saturday of each month from 2 to 3 p.m., and that's led by Seb Barnett. And let's welcome Seb to the stage. He's been a practicing shaman for many, many years, and is going to share that wealth of knowledge with us. Come on up.
Hello, hello. As Kevin said, my name is Seb. I run Green Stag Spirit Work, a spiritual practice right here in King County. And I do classes on energy work and meditation and different aspects of shamanism. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. And today we're going to be talking about living with spirits. It's going to be really exciting. I get very passionate about spirits and how we're all living with them and interacting with them, and going to go into all sorts of details about spirits, who they are, what they're doing, and how we can interact with them. If you're interested, we've got a mailing list on the table for email, and I also have some handouts on the two front tables. Also, if you guys want to scoot in a little further, these two tables are open for you to sit there and enjoy me ramble on about goodness knows what. Spirits. When I was a kid, I could see spirits, I could hear them, I could feel them. They made an everyday impact on my life. Some of them were shaped like humans, some of them were bright flashes of light, some of them were just a sensation, some of them were hairy and animalistic, and most of them terrified me. There is very little context in my life for what were spirits, and I was a quiet child. I didn't want to ask questions, really. And I noticed that nobody else was asking questions like that or talking about that, so it was pretty taboo to bring it up. So I didn't bring it up. There was one night in particular that I remember. I was like 5 years old, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I could see these little spirits moving all around in my bedroom, and they looked kind of like little shadows just moving around and doing their thing. They were small, they were tiny. And they scared me. So I went and snuggled with my mom, and I said, "Mom, the shadows are moving." And she said, "Just go to sleep. There's nothing there. It's okay." I did not feel reassured at all. In fact, I felt even more scared because that meant my mom couldn't see the spirits. She didn't think they were real. And therefore, she couldn't protect me from them. So that became my relationship with spirits in the beginning, of trying to figure out how to interact with spirits, which I realized very quickly I didn't really have a choice on that one. They're all around me. They're always interacting with me. And I had to figure out how to interact with spirits in such a way that was going to be constructive for both of us. So I learned how to communicate with them, and I learned to have good boundaries with them. And that's some of the stuff I'm going to be talking with you guys today about. So I've divided things up into like a what, who, where, and how. And that's going to give us a little bit of a structure as we go through this talk. So let's start with, what are spirits? I like the dictionary definition. This is one of the few times where I'm like, yeah, the dictionary's got this going. The dictionary says that spirits are the non-physical part of a person that is the seat of emotions and character, the soul. Or, definition number 2, the qualities regarded as forming the definitive or typical elements in the character of a person, nation, or group in the thought and attitudes of a particular period. That actually applies to what we're talking about today, because spirits, even though they don't always have a physical body like we do, we have a spirit. It lives inside of us, and usually it's inside of our bodies, and Usually it takes training for people to send their spirits off other places. But there are spirits in objects, in living beings, such as animals and plants and us. And there's also spirits that don't necessarily have a physical body. And these kind of become the spirits that are a little bit harder to wrap our heads around, but they are still the non-physical part that is a seat of emotion and character of, and in a way, it's the soul. Some of these spirits are the souls of plants, the souls of animals, the souls of animal elements and minerals, and even ideas. In the dictionary, it talks about a spirit of a group, kind of like a team spirit or a school spirit, or the spirit of an organization. But those are actual spirits also that we can interact with and talk to, and that's where things get really fascinating. But we're going to go back to who are spirits. There's a interesting definition that needs to be made between the difference between a spirit and spiritual residue. With spiritual residue, it's kind of like how we're all going through life, and every single day we're shedding skin cells, we lose a little bit of hair here and there, we leave little bits of ourselves around all the time. In the same way, we leave energy behind us. We leave like this energy trail, and if we get a really intense emotion and something really intense that we're expressing, we leave part of that in the space that we were. That's our energy residue. Spirits can also leave an energy residue. Other people can leave an energy residue. Animals, plants, they leave an energy residue that changes a space. Those aren't necessarily spirits. That's kind of what they've left behind. One of the few times when there's so much spiritual residue that it becomes something is a ghost. A ghost is when a human being, and rarely animals, go through such an intense emotion that they leave a part of themselves behind that's continuing to live that emotion over and over and over again. Sometimes they can be something you can interact with and talk to, but most of the time they're so wrapped up in their little dialogue that they're just doing their thing, and that's what they got. That's it. They're just doing their thing. That's it. They may know what name they came from, what person they came from. They may not. They may just know, oh my gosh, I'm so lonely and I'm just sitting here being lonely. And that might be all they've got. But I still think that ghosts are pretty exciting and fun. I love them. One of my favorite kinds of spirits are, I call them spirit guides. Some people call them totems or power animals. And in cultures all over the world, you see all of these different people from all these different spiritual paths and ideas. They all believe in a guardian spirit or a spirit that looks out for you from the time you're born to the time you die. Some of these cultures it changes, and there's some differences between some cultures believe that you have the same spirit that guards you for your entire life. Other cultures believe that they tap out. They're like, hey man, I've looked after you until you're 10. My buddy here is going to look after you now. I'm headed out. And other cultures believe that there's spirits that you accumulate who help guard you as you go through life. I like to use the term spirit guide because it's more open-ended than something like power animal, which implies that it's an animal. But spirit guides are a specific kind of spirit, and it's their job and it's their goal and their passion to look out for you. They are like the number one. They're your biggest fans and also your best mentors. They're so wonderful, and hands down, I have the most respect for spirit guides. But when we turn take the term spirit guide and turn it to power animal, that's where it changes, because not all spirit guides are animals. They a lot of times take the forms of animals to try and impart to us particular lessons about who they are. But they can be our ancestors, they can be animals and plants and minerals or elementals, and they take on the forms to teach us things. But they are a very specific kind of spirit that is super awesome, and they're hands down my favorites. They're great. There's also the spirit of plants, in the same way that we have a spirit that lives inside of us that is basically accumulation of our personality and characteristics. So in the same way, each plant has one of those spirits. I find that spirits, like most everything else, the longer they live, the more knowledge they accumulate, and the more intelligence, and the better they are at communicating. So when I go to talk to plants, usually I like to try and talk to older plants, such as trees, perennials that have been around for a while. You talk to annual plants, they're like, I am a plant, I like growing, I'm gonna make more plants. That's what they do. That's the conversation you're probably gonna have with them. I like growing, I'm gonna make a lot of seeds, it's gonna be great. That's what they need to do, and that's the information they have to share. They might ask you something like, hey, you want to pollinate me? I need some pollen brought over this other guy over there. But when you talk to trees and older plants, they have really deep and beautiful wisdom to impart to us. And they are usually very kind. And I say usually because it's kind of like saying, oh, human beings are awesome. They're always really sweet and kind, and they always are a certain way. You can't do that. Like, spirits are have as varied personalities as do human beings. So I can't say that all tree spirits are going to be psyched to hang out with you. That's just not the case. There's a lot of them that probably will be really excited that you're interested in talking to them and having a relationship with them. That's not always. There's going to be some of them that are like, dude, I'm so done with people. There's this guy, he just left beer cans here every single week. I'm done. And then you can respectfully offer to take away the beer cans every week. Or you can respectfully say, I get it. Sometimes it's frustrating. And give the tree some space. Elementals are really excellent spirits to interact with. I find that they have a great amount of knowledge, and a lot of them are interested in imparting their knowledge and interacting with human beings. Elementals usually are around the element that they represent, which means that air elementals are like all over the place, which is awesome. But at the same time, like with the tree spirits, we can't say that they're always nice. The same way we can't say that, oh, the spirit of the air is always peaceful and thoughtful. That's not always true. The spirits of air, they have a great wide amount of different personality types. Also, the spirit of air that you interact with may not be interested in peace. It may be interested in blowing all the papers out of somebody's hand, seeing what they can do, throwing leaves all over the place, having a good time, and playing pranks on people. That might be what the wind spirit is up to. And it's different for each and every one. So it could be spirits of fire, spirits of light and shadows. I consider them elementals. They're kind of like elements. They're the substance that makes up the universe. And, of course, elements of water and earth minerals, things along those lines. There's, of course, the spirits that reside in other animals and that are all around us. And those spirits may be representative or looking out for the animals, or they may be the spirit that resides inside of the animal, like the soul of your cat you could speak with. And there might also be a spirit in the shape of a cat that comes across your path and is simply a spirit that has the form of a cat and the knowledge of a cat. And each spirit is different, so I'm not going to sit here and try to limit what on earth that spirit could be, because it's so wide and varied. There's so many different types out there. It's really great. The best way to find out